Hey folks, Chris Crazyhouse here with some Chris Crazy commentary. I want to kind of add a little bit on to that last commentary video that I did talking about NFTs and, people always suggesting that I do NFTs or just, not even suggesting, kind of badgering me about NFTs. And I just wanted to say something to a lot of the young artists out there. First of all, let me say thank you to all the people who responded to that video. Most of the people who responded with lots of positive energy. Even if they disagreed with me, they kind of gave me some information about NFTs and cryptocurrency and stuff like that. And I do appreciate that information. I like that when people respond with giving me info about things or trying to educate me about certain things. That's always the best way to go, rather than being ignorant and just disagreeing with anger or whatever. I do appreciate that. Okay, and like I said before, I'm not against NFTs. I'm not against anyone who does that. I'm not against cryptocurrency. I'm just saying, for me, it wasn't the right move for me to do at this time. Not to say that I'm not looking into it, or not to say that I'm not going to create certain things like that, because I am. There's one NFT that I'm developing now. Hopefully I can get it done by the summertime, and that will be my very first one out there. But I'm just letting you know that it is something that I am interested in, but it's also not my main focus either, because there are other things that are bringing in money right now that I can use right now, like as far as the currency that it brings in, is stuff that I can actually use and develop. And this is something that with the crypto stuff or with NFTs, this is something that I can look at and kind of develop on the side. And if it does work and it does bring me any type of either more notoriety or money, then it's all good. I'm always up for creating other forms of income. I have several now, so adding more is not going to hurt me, right? It can only help. But there's something I wanted to add on to that video, and just saying that to a lot of young artists out there, or maybe they're older artists like myself, because when I mentioned last time, when that one guy, the guy who owned that trucking company, was saying that if I don't get into NFTs, then I'm going to become a dinosaur or a fossil, and I'll just be left behind. And I want both him and people like him to understand, and a lot of artists to understand, because you might get this kind of thing too, where whatever new trend comes up, you feel you have to jump on that, or else you're going to be left behind. And that's the prevailing thought. And I'm going to say this as someone who's a lot older now. I've seen so many trends come and go. I can say that the best thing for you to have as an artist is to have the fundamentals. And what I mean by that is having the bare basic idea of how to create art. It helps a lot if you are at your core a creative person. I think that's something that people are born with. I don't think you can really train someone to be creative. I think that's something either you have it or you don't. It's kind of the same thing with being a musician. Either you have that natural talent or you don't. But there is such a thing as learning a certain skill and being able to practice a certain skill and develop a certain proficiency at a certain skill, to where you become competent enough to apply that skill to different things. So if I can just give a base idea of what that means, is for someone like me who's been drawing all my life, just me having that basic skill of learning how to draw, learning the basics of human anatomy, learning the basics of how to create a picture or a piece of artwork, and being able to take those basic fundamentals, I'm able to use that and to apply it to other things. So knowing how to draw and having those basic fundamental skills, and then going to art school as well to develop those skills, I can apply my craft to different things. Like when I went to art school, I was not even really thinking about doing animation. That wasn't my main focus at that time. My mind wasn't expanded to that. My mind was on, doing comic books and posters and album artwork and stuff like that. But as time went on, I found that I was able to apply my skills and my creativity to animation. I didn't realize just how much of my skill set would be good for, knowing how to do sequential art. I was able to tell a story that way, and then I was able to, move that over to doing animation. See what I'm saying? And just having that basic skill set, I was able to accomplish and create animations. I was doing it a lot earlier, even before I even got out of school. I was still not even halfway through my art program where I was producing my own animations. Okay, so, and showing them around either the dorms or at the school. A lot of the people in the administration at my school, they loved it. And me being able to apply my own creativity into that medium, that helped out a lot. And there are a lot of artists who are like that out there, who a lot of very famous artists and directors who started out just being artists or comic book artists or whatever, and they are able to apply that craft into what they do now. Two great examples of this are people like Zack Snyder and Robert Rodriguez. A lot of those guys started out doing either art in sequential art, comic books, or they started out in animation, and they were able to take that into directing into actual films. And if you look at their films and their filmography, you can see that influence within their films. And in my opinion, that's why a lot of their films come out the way they do, in that cool, stylized way, is because of their background that they have doing other things like that, right? So what I'm saying is, having those fundamentals and having that, just having those bare basics of your art or your creativity, you can always take that and apply it to other things. Likewise, as far as me doing animation, I never thought of doing animation for games. This was always, when I started doing animation, it was always about doing stuff for the web or doing stuff for TV. I didn't even think about that I could apply my animation skills to doing stuff for games. And at first it started off me just doing animation for mobile phones. Like, people just wanted to download little animations or animated GIFs or whatever and stuff like that. And then that later on moved into doing games, like social games or whatever. I wasn't even thinking about, oh yeah, when I play these video games, those characters and the backgrounds and stuff, that's all made of sprites that someone actually had to draw and create. Or even later on, people doing 3D animation as well. If you have those basic skills, you can apply that to other things. Even for those people who do 3D animation, a lot of those companies would prefer that you still have basic fundamentals in original 2D animation. They want to know, do you know how to create this motion for this character? Because if you can create it in pencil and paper, it'll be easier for you to create it on a digital scale when you're doing it in 3D animation as well. So a lot of times, a lot of those bigger companies, at least during my time anyway, they would spend time either making sure the person had a knowledge of 2D animation, or they would even train 2D animators how to do 3D. You see what I'm saying? So that way there was more of that fluidity would still be there. And sometimes they still do that. If they feel things are coming out too stiff on the 3D side, they will still get someone to come in and do 2D animation. Even if you watch a lot of those popular 3D animated films, if you go look at the storyboards or the animatics, it's still done in 2D animation. And people kind of get that idea of how things go. That way they're able to add the 3D elements later on, right? So that's what I'm trying to get to you guys to understand. Having those fundamentals will always be important, and that will never go away. So even now, if I want to apply my fundamentals to doing NFTs, I can do that. But at no point, I don't want you guys to ever think that you'll be a fossil or left behind, because new things and new trends come and go. Those basic fundamentals will always be there. They will never go away. Okay, and having that basic knowledge and that idea of how to create, that will always be there for you, and you can always utilize that, because a lot of these programs, I always hear people saying, I gotta learn this program or this software or this app. That's all those are all just tools to get to your end goal. Okay, I want people to fully understand that you're still telling a story at the basic end, and how just learning how to do that. It's you know, it's however you want to get there is however you get there. Okay, most people only care about the end result when they see these things anyway. They don't know how you made it to begin with. I'm letting you know from an artist standpoint and dealing with customers and clients, they don't know how the hell you did it anyway. So you trying to figure out, do I use this program or this software or whatever? It doesn't matter as long as they get a good end result. Okay, like when I worked in music videos, they didn't care how I was doing it. They didn't care I was using Sketchbook Pro and Macromedia Flash to finish out those sequences for music videos. They didn't care about that. They just cared that it was done, and all I cared about was getting a paycheck. So that's what it is. It doesn't matter. You having those fundamental skills are going to take you far. So I would always say to artists out there, make sure you cultivate that first. And even, you know, for those people who are musicians, I would say the same thing. You still need to know how to read and play music, right? It doesn't matter what digital technology comes out there. You still need to learn how to put a song together, or put a melody together, or to compose something. Whether you do it digitally or you're writing it down on music sheets is immaterial at this point. But you still need to learn those basic fundamentals. You still need to learn your notes, correct? Same thing with writers. It doesn't matter if you're typing on a typewriter or you're typing in Pages, or what was that program? Not Final Cut. What was the one that they use for script writing or screenplays? It doesn't matter really, but you still need to know how to write a script. You still need to know the basic ideas and the formats to use when you're writing something down, right? Or how to write a story. You know how to do your outline, how to do your chapters and everything else. Each chapter still needs a beginning, a middle, and an end, no matter what you're doing. So these are all things you need to understand when creating something. You still need to know your basic fundamentals. It doesn't matter what comes as far as how you're going to tell the story or how you're going to present your artwork. Knowing how to create the thing or how to create artwork is the most important part of it. And what tools you use or what medium you decide to go into, that's totally up to you later on. Okay, like you've even seen me here on this channel, I draw things traditionally in my sketchbook with just pencil, paper, and some markers. I can also go ahead and do it completely digitally. It doesn't matter. It's all up to you. So don't be so put off or think that you're being left behind if some new trend comes up and people say you need to do this and this and this and this. It all depends on you and making sure if you can still create artwork, it's still easy for you to get into these different forms of artwork or these different mediums and different ways of producing things. Okay, don't be discouraged by people saying you're going to be left behind if you don't do this right now, because like I said, these trends come and go, and if you just jump on every trend, you'll spend so much time doing that you won't be developing your fundamentals. You'll forget about the fundamentals and just be jumping on what trend comes next or what's going to be here next year or whatever. You know, concentrate on the basics first, and you'll get to the heights and you'll be able to apply them to different places later on. So that's all I wanted to say, folks. I hope you guys understood that. Hopefully it gives you some help and some inspiration for your own work, whatever type of work that may be. And I hope to see you here again on my Chris Crazyhouse channel. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe, and make sure you like this video and spread it to as many people who you think needs to hear it. Anyway, guys, Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.